All right, so I had a minor surgery this morning, and
Are you okay?
I mean, probably not. Uh,
Which child had the surgery?
it, yeah, the one that was most important to me. But it was a minor surgery, and my wife kept basically saying, I had 3 C-sections where they literally opened me up and then stitched me back together, and your surgery doesn't even involve stitches. And my response to her was, "Did you forget that I'm a dude? Of course I'm going to complain about it."
Soccer chat with 2 T's because we're going to chat about soccer, but we're also in Chattanooga. So it's like a play on words. And, Chattanooga is a soccer city.
Welcome to Soccer Chat.
Wow. And
whatever
we got Adam.
episode this is.
Adam is in
And
full recovery now.
The Brisket boys are here.
Woohoo!
We are ready to talk about the Red Wolves. They have a game tomorrow night. We'll get to the awesome tilt with Tucson. But first, Adam and I haven't had a chance to share our thoughts from the week. Adam, Richmond came in and played a bunker mentality, I think it'd be fair to say. We were able to grit out a 1-0 win. What did you think about the Red Wolves game against Richmond?
So 2 thoughts. Number one is I don't think Richmond has enough offensive power to do anything but a bunker mentality. I think the 4-0 victory over Tucson is more of an indictment on Tucson than it is an excitement for Richmond fans about the quality of their offensive side. And I think they proved that versus us because, let's be honest, the weakest part of our team right now is the defense. That's the part that, if you talk to any Red Bulls fan, that they're most worried about. Mm-hmm. And our defense looked mid-season form versus Richmond, and the same cannot be said for Richmond's offense.
So yeah, we're definitely not playing who we kind of expected to be the 2 starting center backs. Jimmy Obleda was really expecting Nico Cardona, who's been coming off the bench, making small appearances, trying to take care of a muscle injury, and Danny Navarro, who had kind of a more serious injury, hasn't had a chance to really train with the team yet this season. And so we've got, I think they're pretty good replacement level backups playing in Sebastian Capizzucci and Jorge Luna, but they're not our first choice center defenders. I think if you gave the truth serum to Coach Obleda, and yeah, I think they did a very good job. And you add in Devin Benton, who made Team of the Week, had lots of important clearances in that second half after we took the 1-0 lead. And Aaron Lombardi causing problems getting up the field on his end as well into the attack. They really weren't able to break us down. They did have some shots that went just wide, but you always wonder with the angle how close those really were to going in when they go by that face of goal and past the crossbar.
They had 0 shots on target when you look at the end stats. They had only 8 shots, but none of them on target.
Yeah, and those stats are always kind of hit or miss because to what Alex is saying, you can have one that just barely misses over the post or just barely misses to the right or left of the post, and it's not on target, but it's a darn significant scare. I just didn't feel that's what happened in this game. Like, I went back and rewatched some of it. I definitely went back and rewatched a few of the saves by Good Save Fitzy. But I don't feel like Carlos was ever really pressured and to a point that mattered. I think there was a number of opportunities that maybe would have come up a little bit more for them if they had remembered how to stand up instead of fall down. But they killed their own offensive plays a couple times by expecting to get calls that typically, honestly, versus the Red Bulls, you end up getting that this ref surprisingly wasn't really taking, except for maybe once or twice, because Lord knows Richmond gave him opportunities to pull the whistle and just didn't. And so that's probably the most interesting outcome to me, because the ref that we had was one that is notorious for making bad calls. And I think other than the ridiculously delayed call that in the second half, there wasn't really one that stood out for me of well, there's our League One ref being a League One ref.
Well, I know
they played a very negative first half, I felt. Richmond really kept the ball in their half, passing through the defense, trying to draw us out. You made a mention of it during the game, Adam, that they were expecting the Red Wolves to, press really high and hope that they could play something over the top and catch us napping. And we just never took that bait. And so the first half ended scoreless, and the second half we came out with our 15 minutes of hell that they always do coming off the break. And that's when you saw the goal to Mo Espinoza, in that we pounced on the play in the midfield, got it to our attacking wingers, our strength with those players like Rafa Menzigan, and Mo put a really nice shot away in the far side of the net.
So have you guys gone and rewatched that goal on the League One, either the Twitter feed that redoes the shot, the scores? Do you listen to the announcer in that one? Have you picked up on what he says?
I didn't have the sound on.
It's quite humorous, because this is one of our big frustrations, Alex. We talk about this a lot at games, is that we seem to never have anyone on the other side on a cross, right? Yeah. And he goes, ball across, and he goes, no one, and he scores. Because he's doing it remotely, right? And they're not live. Because if he's live, if he's actually at the stadium, which get the announcers at the stadium, it's a different type of announcing, but that's a whole different soapbox. So he's doing this from Florida, right? And the camera has not panned over far enough to see Mo there, right? And so he basically, if you're looking at my camera shot, he's just off on the other side of this window. Like you're just missing him. And so he thinks there's no one there, and then all of a sudden the ball comes flying across and into the back of the net. It's quite entertaining, because it captures a lot of one of our frustrations with this team is there usually isn't someone to clean up the backside. And Mo being there either says to me, finally, or, it just was luck. But I'm hoping finally that the coaches, it's gotten it into him, Blade's gotten into these guys. Hey, we need someone to follow up those crosses. we need to be hitting the box, especially in the second half when we're putting this massive press on.
Jeff, your thoughts on the goal?
Well, I said I really enjoyed the goal. It was good to see Mo score, and the fact that I know that he was one of the trialists and one of the last people signed, and so came in. I'm not sure if this was his first pro contract or not.
If you count Nisa, it's not.
Okay, I count it. Okay.
So,
but still, it was a pretty. He was kind of latecomer. He wasn't one of the first on the team sheet as far as for what they were building. So that to me was very impressive to see a guy come from trialist to goal of the week, a decided goal of the week. And so I think that was I was a little skeptical of Mo getting so much time early on, and he's won me over.
Well, and this was Mo, from what I can tell from researching, this is his first professional goal. So while he did play in Nisa, played 4 games with Nisa there in San Diego, I only see an assist on his history, so I don't think he's ever scored it before. So good for him on getting his first professional goal.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he was involved in one of the plays in the Madison game where we had hoped that stuff had gone into the corner. Coach Obleda hasn't given up on him, though, but has given him lots of opportunities to continue to be on the field in the following games. And I think he's rebounded. He learned from that mistake. He's taken advantage and is really involved when he's there in getting forward in the attack, taking players on one-on-one, getting into the box and sending crosses. So I think he's really been a bright spot as we have players that are getting fit, like Jorge Pais, and Ray Ortiz is now trying to kind of come back from a small injury, Josue Espana and Andres Hernandez. So he's earning the chance to kind of have his number tapped later on in the season and getting big experience, so that in games where someone's on a suspension or someone has a tweak and they've got to kind of manage minutes, he'll be able to come on and perform for the team. And I think we can have a lot of confidence in him when he's out there.
One thing I really like about this team, and you kind of talked about a lot of the nagging injuries that are out there, but if you go and look at the makeup of our team, it's a good mix age-wise, right? We've got a lot of veterans and a lot of, young guys in there. You look up top and you take in Rafa and Juan and Teixeira, they're 26, 27, 31, like a good mix there. And then you go look at some of these position players in the middle, and you do go really young, like a Pedro Hernandez, who's only 22 years old. And then you work your way, up from there, and you start getting to Andre Hernandez, who's 29. It's a really good mix. And I think one of the things that's interesting is, typically it's your older players that have a nagging injury. We're replacing them a lot of times with a youth guy that's going to bring energy and maybe change things up. But with that comes sometimes mistakes. And I think that's what we saw in that first game. I think we could very easily be sitting here at 3 wins, no losses, if there's not a youth mistake made there. And the fact that Obleda picks up on, or doesn't just pick up on, but is willing to allow these guys to make youth mistakes and doesn't give up on them, and then that results in being the goal scorer in a 1-0 game for us, speaks volumes to the quality of the coaching that these guys are receiving.
Do you think that's one of the advantages we have with a coach with such a success in training up young players? Because that's where he got his name. Do you think that's going to be a byproduct we're going to continue to see with the Red Wolves, is the ability to give confidence and train up a lot of these younger players?
Well, I think yes and no. I think he's done more than just be the coach of young players, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
If I look at some of the players that he's gotten a lot of quality results out of, they're not always young players. Like, I would argue that he's gotten more out of Wally, than Hankinson ever got out of him, right? And Wally's one of, he's not really old. But he is older, right? He's 28.
He's old in soccer years. He's not old in soccer chat years.
No, he would be the young.
All 4 years.
Yeah, I just feel like, Daniel Navarro, right? We brought him in on loan at one point, and now he's here full time. He's 30 years old, but we saw a lot out of him at 29 years old. That's not youth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you have the other side of it where you're right. Like, you look at what he did with Jonathan Ricketts, moving him from a forward and really transitioning him into a defensive player that has moved up into championship and is holding his own there. I think that shows that he has both the ability to get quality out of an older player who's looking for that last hurrah to really prove himself and maybe make that jump, and that young player who's looking for the teaching to transform himself from a fringe player into a quality, solid team player that can move up as well.
I think even you look at the experience that I think really tells is he spent a couple years at Dominguez Community College in Southern California. And he was talking to me off air and talked about how kind of what you're doing in League One is very similar to that community junior college level, where a guy's coming in, you've basically got him for 2 years, and you're trying to work with him and get the most out of him and trying to help him showcase himself. These guys are coming in. What the Red Wolves, I think, are hoping to do is, as a recruiting selling point, say, look at Jonathan Ricketts. Look at even, Richie Zacharias, played with us for 1 year, is now, sometimes playing significant minutes with El Paso. Ricky Ruiz, Jonathan Ricketts at Rio Grande Valley. We've got the most players from League One that have moved on to championship here. And Coach Obleda is looking to develop those guys. He's moving people on, brings them in for a couple of years, and is kind of, he understands from his experience in junior college, developing those guys for a short period of time before that they've got to move on.
I don't know that you're right that we have the most. I think Omaha.
Well, I'm standing by it, but someone can check me.
Yeah, I'm not going to check you. Too much work. I feel like the Omaha guys kept screaming that they were the producers of it, and that's why I said, well, that's great. I hope your next group of high schoolers do better. All right, so let's move past this last game. I think Jeff did a great job of covering it. That was a wonderful off the post. So thank you to Wolfman and Wolf Lady for that. And let's real quick. Let's go ahead and jump into the preview of what's coming up. Tucson is coming off of a, how do you say, disappointing loss in the Open Cup to what I would consider the worst team that League One faced in all Open Cup. And they lost to them. How bad is Tucson?
So I did not watch the Open Cup game, but with my whole Scouts Honor segment, it was my turn with Tucson. So I've watched their match against Las Vegas Lights in the Open Cup, and I watched them with their loss to Richmond and their tie against Madison. So the two players to watch, their forward Gio Calixtro. They have a midfielder named Danny Bedoya, and those are players that can be dangerous. But there's not a lot else there. The defense is not really incredibly organized. And, the one that's freshest in my mind watching them play against Madison is that they want to play a similar style to the Red Wolves of a quick transition, get the ball moved up, try to get people on the flanks to send crosses. And they just don't execute it as well as you watch the Red Wolves do over the last 3 games. Their possession doesn't really have quite as much a purpose as when you're watching the Red Wolves. And their defense gets itself overextended. So I think if we can come with some pressure, we can put them on the back foot. The game against Richmond, I think I remember watching that and texting you guys and saying, wow, this Tucson defense is really bad. And I didn't really even mean to take away from what Richmond did in their 4 goals that they scored. They were pretty talented attacking in that game. Things came together for them. They played well, but Tucson really just made a mess of trying to defend, constantly scrambling, not really being in good positions. And that's what happens with Gio Calixtro. He doesn't really. He seems like he's kind of in the Juan Mare school of always managing to be in the wrong spot for the point of attack. And so they have a hard time getting forward on that. Their leading goal scorer, Jeff had shown, was Jacob Kroll. He scored off of a corner kick. It was a header. It was a really nice header. In the game they played against the Las Vegas Lights. The Las Vegas Lights were a team, when you were watching that game, that looked like they could not wait to get on the bus and get back to Las Vegas. And still, they scored 2 goals against Tucson. So take that for what it's worth. The game was won by Tucson 3-2, but there were 2 really fluky corner kick goals. One that kind of bounced off someone's shoulder, landed at Jacob Kroll's feet, and he knocked it in. And then one that was just inexplicably misplayed by the Las Vegas goalkeeper that ended up as an own goal. So they win that game 3-2, even though they don't really outmatch Las Vegas, who didn't look like they played well at all.
Yeah, and I think you're picking up something else that I just want to soapbox and turn us away from Tucson for a second. Can people please stop acting like your results in the Open Cup are an indictment on either the league or on the team that has the loss or the win, right? Like if we play Las Vegas Lights, we win that game. Based off what you're saying. We play Memphis, we win that game. It's just, some of these USL League One teams that beat MLS teams, you were playing a bunch of subs who don't ever play together, and their coach chose not to put the starters in. Greenville lost to Charlotte this weekend, who is not really a very good MLS team, and all their fans were talking about, well, they had to put their starters in. You're kind of getting at my point. Like, even if you won that game, you didn't beat the MLS team. You beat the scrubs who never play together. And when they brought their starters in, they won the game. The Open Cup is one of those things where you get lucky with your draw. You get a bad draw, but the coach has a bunch of injuries happen, and they decide we're not going to be able to make a full run. We need time to actually have our players heal, so he puts a bunch of scrubs out. You never know what you're going to hit in Open Cup. More power to you for winning. I'm glad you guys get to win. I'm not saying you should disparage that, but don't say, oh, well, CFC beat Memphis and you guys lost to Louisville, so obviously CFC is a better team. No, CFC played Memphis, who didn't even start their starters. We played Louisville, who started most of their starters, and is a much better team in that. They're not apples to apples.
So just because your team happens to beat another team 4-2 in a midweek game, that doesn't mean that they're the better team. Okay.
Right. That's exactly right. If you're playing in a cup that doesn't matter to you, then yes. If you're playing in the Premier League trying to fight for position, probably not. We probably wouldn't want to count that.
Oh, yeah. So that would be a little bit different. I do want to say congratulations to all the teams that did advance and that did play well against bigger sides, if you will. To me, I think even though we didn't advance, we played extremely well against Louisville, and it does help. I think it does help League One insofar as going to be continued to be taken more serious, and so I think that's a league win. But yes, and that's the beauty of the cup is anyone, depending on what the draws are, and maybe sometimes dumb luck, it could happen. So that's why the cup is exciting.
And I will say, the draw just came out, and Union Omaha and Hailstorm are going to be playing each other. I think both those teams will take that game seriously, and that will be a really good game to watch.
Yeah.
But I think if Union Omaha had drawn another MLS team, I think it would have been a lot closer to the Atlanta United CFC game, because I don't think MLS is going to let League One win any more games. Like I think the message is going to go out. It's time to put your starters in these games. Let's take care of it. Anyway.
I mean, I think, when you get to the round of 32, especially the round of 16, you start to think, hey, maybe there is an outside shot. We could win this. We have the CONCACAF Champions League spot on the line for the Open Cup winner. So that's when the MLS teams will really start to kind of lock in and take it serious. But I think you're right, Jeff. I think it is awesome that it brings eyeballs to the league when you see a team from your league advance, when you see them make an upset of someone that's one or two notches above them in the pyramid. But Adam's right that you can't let that one game define the season. And I would much rather have played the amazing game that we did. A lot of our players come off the field thinking, if we hadn't made the one mistake that we made to surrender the goal, that's going to extra time. There's a good chance that anything could happen in overtime. Anything could happen in penalties. And that confidence is stirring them in their regular season now. Then maybe thinking, oh, well, we went out and we beat Chicago Fire, and everyone's going to have to just kind of bow to our experience and maybe overthink that. Some folks might overplay that hand based on that result. So that'll be exciting to see how the rest of that season goes, and enjoy all the other teams getting to have midweek games and match fatigue. And, I don't wish injuries on any players, but, maybe someone's just a little too sore to play on a Saturday because they played on Wednesday.
Well, and I do wonder how much the two teams that are not facing each other, how much are they going to put effort into that game? Because it's a lot. It'll take a lot of energy in that game to play, and you're already guaranteed that one other team in your league is going to go to the next round and get the bonus money because of the fact that Hailstorm and Omaha are playing each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like you now know if you're one of those, if you're Tormenta, right? You now know you have to win 2 games to get the bonus money, and be able to actually build the rest of your stadium. I don't know. It's just kind of my thought on that. Do you guys want to finish up our view of Tucson and then maybe do around the view? Sorry, I kind of sidetracked us there.
No, it's good. The thing was, when I was looking at Tucson, it's so vanilla right now, and they had one in particular, one star who gave us fits for the past 2 years, the Charlie Dennis, and he's gone, and it's and good for him because he's a great player, and I'm glad he's not playing against us. But I'm trying to remember the rest of these people. I think Bedoya, I sort of remember, and it feels like it's just I don't know if they've got they don't have a plan or if they have an identity. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know if I can articulate Tucson's identity at this point, and that's a problem.
Yeah, the last game against Madison, the commentator talked a lot about Coach John Perlman for FC Tucson trying to create that identity. So it's a work in progress for them.
Yeah.
Whereas Jimmy Obleda, now in his third year, has pretty much cycled through guys that he inherited. These are all people that he has handpicked. Him and general manager Sean McDaniel have worked on what players needed to fit in all of that. They've got scouting links set around, and so they have much more of an identity than what you see with Tucson. And to me, it shows on the field. There's a lot of individual skill. There's another player, his name Luis. Now I can't think of his last name, and I feel bad. Luis Perez.
Perez, yes, he's very talented.
He is very individually talented and very skilled. And again, if our back line is not turned on and ready to defend, he'll make them look bad and he'll beat them one-on-one. And all of a sudden, Gio Calixto lucks into being in the right spot at the right time and can punish us. I think this game could be high scoring. I think the Red Wolves are going to score more than one goal. And I think it's possible if they have a couple lapses that Tucson could answer and score one or two goals against us if we're not turned on.
See, now Perez I've been paying attention to him. He is really good on creating chances. The difficulty is those chances have tended to be squandered. And I do think it could be high scoring, up to 3 goals, but I don't see Tucson getting any of them. And I hope I'm right. And if it has to be dumb luck, because as it stands right now, their best game in league is equal to our worst game as far as for when we played Madison. That was our worst game. That was our first game. And that one was we should have won. So that was our draw. But their draw was their best performance so far in the league.
They came back from a goal down after a red card. So even that was, a little bit of a different result than what we had.
And they had 30 minutes to get that goal, and it took them about 20 to get the goal in, and it really did change the whole nature of that match. Did change with that red card. Ford tried really hard to park the bus and just failed. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they're very good. I guess for me, it's watching, because I did watch the Open Cup game versus Cal United Strikers, and then I talked to acquaintances of mine that are NISA fans, and they were like,
"You have other friends?"
No, I said acquaintances.
Okay, fair enough.
And they were very clear that Cal United, while good, is not great. And I was like, okay, so it is. I think we're going to see a pretty one-sided affair, is my expectation. So let's go ahead and jump into predictions sure to go wrong, and I'll start. I've got us winning. And I've got us winning going away 3-0, and this being one where my wife calls me and was like, hey, Jonah's got an early game in his tournament tomorrow. We might need to head out because we're already up 3-0 and there's only 30 minutes to go. That's how much of an expectation I have.
Wow.
And you notice she has to call me because she's not about to be seen next to me at the stadium.
Well, we sweat a lot, so there's that.
And it is going to be in the 80s.
It's going to be a hot one. I am actually in agreement with Adam on something, and I have picked also 3-0. And I think because I'm not seeing things come together for Tucson, and I'm continuing to see the pieces come together for the Red Wolves, and we don't score lackluster goals. We only score bangers right now. And so I think the ante is up. And I think they're going to be, at least 2 of them are going to be fantastic goals.
So I did say that Tucson could punish us and score if everyone missed out on the if the defense had a lapse, had a breakdown, turned themselves off for 5 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they are locked in. They are growing in confidence. They are getting better every week. We are incorporating players like Andres Hernandez and Jorge Pais. Jimmy Villalobos has been a sensation. Devin Benton has done a wonderful job playing with Coach Jimmy. Aaron Lombardi is looking great. We've got full Rafa. I see. Think back to our game against North Carolina when we started out really sluggish and really slow after playing in the Tucson game, and I think that's what Tucson's going to do. And I think when they come out sluggish in the first half of this game after playing midweek Open Cup and then having to travel across country, I think we are going to punish them with an early goal. That's going to force them to have to chase the game and put themselves out. And I think you're right. I think we do finish it off. I'll say 4.
So you're not going
we
full
match
Atlanta
Richmond.
United.
We
All
score
right,
4-0. Maybe not full Atlanta United 6-0. If they do, I will be shirtless in the stands by the 6th goal. That is a soccer chat guarantee.
No wonder our wives don't want to be seen with us.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Coach Jimmy is going to be like telling them to kick the ball out of bounds after they get to 5 because he doesn't want to have to see me shirtless.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Wow.
All right, so I would like to do a real quick wrap around of these games that are coming up around the league, because I think there's some good ones out there this weekend to keep an eye on for a couple different reasons. The first one starts, there's 2 7:00 games. That can't be right. Is Union Omaha really playing tomorrow at 7 their time?
That's what the internet
or 7
says.
their time. So
the internet's
our
never
time?
wrong about anything. So
I'm assuming the Greenville game is first, and Greenville Tormenta. And the reason that game is important is currently they're sitting both with only 2 games played, so they played one less game than us, but both sitting winless. The question for me is not only are they sitting winless, they've kind of seemed in the USL games not great, right? Like they lost 2-0. Greenville lost 2-0 to Central Fuego. They tied North Carolina, and while they did have a red card, that red card was after North Carolina had already scored, so they did hold on. So good credit to them for that. But man, we played that North Carolina team 3-1, and it felt like it was a true 3-1. It wasn't like we shouldn't have gotten 3 goals, if that makes sense. So I'm interested to see, is that the real Greenville? Is it the real Tormenta? Are we going to see a snooze fest 0-0 or a 1-1? So that game's important. That I think is going to be big. What about you guys? Is there one of the other games this weekend, and including on that the Monday game, Independence and Kickers, that you guys are looking at?
Well, actually, yeah, all of them. I think Greenville's got something to prove right now. They've had their poorest start they've had so far. They had a disappointment with the Open Cup insofar as, honestly, of all the teams I thought was going to beat the MLS team, I thought it was going to be Greenville. And so I think they're gonna be ready and willing to take it out on Tormenta. But Tormenta has improved, so it's going to be a quite an attack. You're going to see Union Omaha and Fuego go at it. Right now, I think the momentum is certainly going in Fuego's way. I wonder if the time why they're starting so early has to do with the fact that Union Omaha, they share their park with the baseball club. We joke about that, but that may be part of the schedule. Not that the baseball's on at 7, but maybe about the time it needs to take to get it ready on Sunday. And then Richmond, Charlotte. I think I think Richmond is want to take it out after their loss against us. It was every time we face Richmond, it's like brother against brother, and it's always ugly. And there's just we don't leave anything out on the field, and it's very passionate. So I think they're going to want to take it out on someone, and Charlotte's in the way. But Charlotte's not the pushover that we assumed it were.
Well, and they're also Richmond Charlotte is they have a history of playing each other in championship too. So
right.
That's another side of it that's interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I would not sleep on Greenville. I haven't watched a ton. I watched their half against North Carolina. Saw both the goals. From what I saw in the game, they may be, working themselves into form. They may, not be completely there. I don't know if they've got some injuries that they're waiting to come back, but they're a team that has an obvious identity. They know how they're trying to play.
Yeah.
And so I know the results have not been what you expect of Greenville, but I don't think that this is what we're going to see the whole season. And I expect them to go climbing up the table right now. I am very interested in seeing what Central Valley Fuego and Union Omaha do. Again, I watched the first half of Omaha and Tormenta. That was about all I could stand of that broadcast. There was a lot of wonky stuff that I would say it's high school audio visual club, but that's kind of insulting to the high school audio visual club. And it was a game of, long ball battling in the midfield for winning the second ball, kicking it long again, seeing some space and running into it and dribbling yourself into a corner. It was not very good. I was not impressed with what I saw from Omaha. I think even with my, anti-owl blinders on. So I'm interested to see, because Central Valley Fuego has started the season hot, pun intended. And they've played really well, gotten good results on the road at Greenville, had that comeback. They were only down a goal, but they had the back and forth with the game that ended 3-3 in Charlotte. So I want to see if they're for real, what they have. They're kind of a blind spot. I haven't watched a ton of Fuego games, but I'll be watching over the next few weeks because that's my new assignment for the Scouts Honor segment. And so I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that game and what those two teams have.
So if everything goes the way I'm expecting it, I expect a tie out of Richmond and Charlotte, and I expect Central Valley to win their match, and I expect Greenville to win their match. But if that happens, we get our win that I'm expecting, we would be sitting 3 points ahead of Central Valley and 5 points clear of everybody else, and that's not a bad way to start your first 4 games. So if that can happen, that'd be great.
Yeah,
especially again when we haven't had the full of our players. Jorge Pais was like the premier signing for this season. That was the big name that Coach Obleda went out and identified and wanted to bring in. If you rewatch the Richmond game, the commentator said that Coach Obleda told them in the pre-match interview that Nico Cardona might be the best defender in League One. So he thinks very highly of him. He hasn't, been at full fitness, played full games yet. Andres Hernandez was a big signing that they're expecting to kind of be that number 6 and allow Jorge Carrera Garcia to really go and pursue the attack at the number 10 on the field for them. So I think watching these games, watching the rest of the teams in the league, I think there's a chance we might be the most talented team in League One. And that's as presently constituted. That's not even when we fully integrated all the people that we're expecting to have. Juan Galindrez has not played a minute yet. Just wait till he's coming off the bench. Dave Teixeira is able to come in and start playing, starting and things like that. So, and I think we're one of the best coached. I think that you can see that in the way we've defended in these first 3 games.
Very cool.
Awkward silence.
Yeah.
Adams.
No, I do think we are certainly one of the most talented. It's going to take a little more time to kind of sort things out. Being League One means we're usually, we're getting you're getting some players you've seen play some other places, but generally speaking, it has to be scouts. You had to really scout to have known most of the people who were signed in League One. So it's always one of those things where you're not quite sure who's really going to come out and hot. Because when we signed Ricky Ruiz, who had heard of him? When we signed, Ricketts was
Mrs. Ruiz had heard of him.
I think so, yes. And apparently all the people that tell me that he was their uncle. But Ricketts, we knew locally, but who knew he was going to have as much of an impact as he did? Who heard of Markey? So that's the thing about League One, I think, is so exciting is you get a lot of these people who are moving on to championship, and hopefully some of them will move even higher, are really making a name. And so it's going to be interesting to see who the stars were for the class of 2022. Yeah, true. Yeah, legit.
All right. Well, do you guys have anything else today?
Do not have anything to add. Tell the Red Wolves you want player interviews. We want player interviews. We were unable to get stuff. You know how things go. They're busy. They're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Training a lot. But yeah, we let us know who you want to hear from, who you want us to talk to, and we'll work with the team. We'll try to get some player interviews on. Sorry we couldn't get one for this week. Thank you all for listening. We love you guys.
We love you. This is a short one.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. Only 40 minutes. We're not prepared.